There are moments when we believe the past is behind us, when we've walked through fire only to find cool ground beneath our feet again. But then something stirs, a name resurfaces, a glance lingers too long from across a room, or rumors return in distorted echoes, and we wonder, why are they still here? Why can't they let go? Let me tell you this, when the narcissist is still obsessed, it isn't about love, nor is it about closure. It's about something far more ancient and elusive. It's about the mirror. The narcissist does not seek you in the true sense. They seek the image you once gave them, their ideal self reflected in your eyes, in your praise, in your belief. That image is addictive. It made them feel whole, powerful, almost divine. And when you took that reflection away, when you stepped back, saw through the performance, and chose truth over illusion, they shattered. But instead of rebuilding, they began to haunt the mirror. This is why they revisit the story, rewrite the past, and attempt to cast themselves in a different light. Not to make peace with it, but to remain in control of the narrative. For them, the story must remain unfinished, as long as they do not own the ending. If they're still trying to clear things up, to explain, to twist, it is not because they seek understanding, it is because they cannot bear the silence of your absence. Your silence, your refusal to play, is more unbearable than your anger. Anger gives them energy. Indifference strips them of meaning. If they mimic your growth, suddenly sharing your language of healing, spirituality, or authenticity, it is not awakening. It is mimicry, a clever echo. They do not seek to walk beside you in the light. They seek to consume it, to wear it as their own. And when you see their reflection in others, friends turn spies, flying monkeys, repeating lines that were never theirs, it is not coincidence. Obsession has dispersed itself, like smoke taking new forms. They may be gone in body, but their need to orbit your world is relentless. And then, perhaps, they reappear, calmer, changed, remorseful. But beware, transformation that does not pass through the dark valley of the self is only costume. If they have not faced their own shadow, then what you see is not healing. It is strategy. The persona has changed. The shadow still pulls the strings. When this happens, do not doubt your path. You are not cruel for moving on, not heartless for choosing peace. You are someone who has escaped the gravitational pull of a false self. That is a sacred act. You have become the mirror they can no longer manipulate, and for that they remain obsessed, not with you, but with the power they lost when you saw them clearly. Let them haunt the mirror. You are no longer inside it. The narcissist cannot let go of the mirror. This phrase may seem poetic, but it is more than metaphor. It is the core of their psychological captivity. To understand their obsession, we must first understand that their sense of self is not built from within, but borrowed from without. They construct identity not through introspection or authentic self-awareness, but through reflection. And you were once their most pristine mirror. When a narcissist is entangled with you, they are not truly relating to you as an individual with a separate reality. They are relating to the way you reflect back their idealized self. Your admiration, attention, and emotional investment serve as a polished surface in which they can admire a grandiose version of themselves. You become essential, not because of who you are, but because of what you represent. A surface that keeps their image intact. And as long as you reflect what they need, they are addicted to your presence. This is why, long after the relationship ends, they may still seem attached. They watch from afar, they resurface in indirect ways, they linger in digital spaces, or they attempt to draw you back in with messages wrapped in nostalgia or false concern. It may seem like they miss you, but what they really miss is that gleaming image they saw in your presence. You gave them shape, you gave them meaning. Without your reflection, they begin to dissolve into psychological fragmentation, a terrifying void they have spent their entire lives avoiding. To a narcissist, losing their mirror feels like death. It is not love they mourn, but loss of control over their image. You were a stage, and they performed upon you. When the curtain closed, they didn't retreat backstage to reflect. They stood there, frozen, waiting for the audience to return. This is why they may continue to talk about you, even when you've gone silent. They are trying to keep the performance alive, even if only in their own mind or in the minds of others. They will rewrite the script, retell the story, recast themselves as the misunderstood hero or the wounded victim, all to restore the shine of their reflection. If they cannot have the mirror, they will try to make others into one. You may hear that they've changed, that they now speak in terms you once used, that they are interested in the things you loved, but this is not growth, it is possession. They are trying to reclaim you, not by reaching toward your heart, but by imitating your light. You became a symbol of something they lack, and symbols are powerful to the fractured psyche. They are not seeking to become more whole. They are seeking to reattach to the image they lost. This is obsession in its most deceptive form, masked as longing, as love, as spiritual awakening, but rooted in psychological hunger. The mirror, to them, is never a tool for reflection. It is a stage, a defense, a drug. And when you step away, when you choose to break the illusion and live in truth, they are left staring at a cracked surface. What they see is not your betrayal, but their own emptiness. Yet they cannot name it, cannot face it, and so they blame you. Obsession is born not out of love, but from the refusal to face what is hidden within. In the end, the narcissist's obsession is not with your soul, your essence, or your personhood. It is with what you once made them feel. You were never simply a companion. You were a reflection. And until they find the courage to look within and face the fractured mirror of their own psyche, they will continue to look outward, searching for another surface, another reflection, another you. But the mirror is gone. You walked away, and that for them is a wound that does not close. The narcissist's obsession often takes the form of a compulsive need to control the story long after the relationship has ended. This isn't just about memory, it's about narrative ownership. The narcissist cannot tolerate ambiguity when it threatens their image, and so they feel an overwhelming need to rewrite, reenact, or reframe the past in a way that keeps them in power. This behavior is not a conscious strategy most of the time, it is a psychological reflex. Deep down, they fear the truth that you now hold, because in your hands, the story does not cast them in the heroic light they desperately need to see themselves in. And so obsession becomes entangled with the need to reassert dominance over the meaning of your shared history. After a narcissistic bond ends, they may continue to reach out, not to reconnect emotionally, but to reorganize the events to their liking. They may insist on having one last conversation, seeking closure, or saying they just want to clear the air. But this isn't closure, it's intrusion disguised as healing. They want to direct how the past is remembered. They need to be the one who decides who was the villain and who was the victim. The narcissist is not content to let the story settle naturally. They must shape it, mold it, and twist it until it aligns with the version of events that makes them look noble, tragic, or misunderstood. If they can't change your memory, they will try to alter the way others see you. If they can't speak directly to you, they will speak about you, often planting seeds of doubt and rewriting your motivations in their favor. This relentless need to control the narrative reveals their deepest fear. Being exposed, to accept the truth of the past, would require them to confront parts of themselves that they have buried under layers of performance. The narcissist cannot do this. Their self-image is too fragile, too deeply defended. Their sense of identity is like a house of mirrors, fragile, dependent on illusion, unable to withstand the weight of honest reflection. So instead of going inward, they project outward. They look to rearrange the events not as they were, but as they needed them to be. The past becomes a stage they refuse to exit. This is why they'll bring up events from long ago, as if they just happened, always positioning themselves as the one wronged, the one burdened by your perceived flaws or betrayals. They may even accuse you of rewriting history while doing precisely that themselves. The irony is painful, but deeply revealing. They are obsessed not with what happened, but with how they are seen in what happened. Even when you have moved on and found peace, the narcissist's obsession with the story keeps them bound to you. They may stalk your life quietly from afar, through social media, through mutual acquaintances, or through indirect provocations. They may resurface with vague apologies that seem more performative than sincere, or with confusing messages designed to pull you back into the emotional web. This is not healing. This is an attempt to reopen the narrative, to lure you back into the drama where they still believe they should have the final word. What they cannot stand is that you stepped out of the script. You refuse to keep acting in the play. That defiance is what drives their obsession, not because they truly want you back, but because they want back the control they lost. Your clarity became their chaos. Your silence became their void. And so, they chase the past, not to repair it, but to reclaim it as their property. This is why the narcissist cannot let go. Their obsession isn't romantic, it's existential. You walked away with the one thing they never willingly give up: authorship. And as long as they feel you hold a version of the truth they cannot manipulate, they will remain trapped in a loop, forever trying to rewrite a story that no longer belongs to them. Your silence is their agony. This is something few people fully understand about the narcissist's obsession. To outsiders, it may appear that the narcissist has moved on, that they've found someone new, or are living unbothered. But silence, true silence, the kind where you no longer feed their ego, defend yourself, or even acknowledge their presence, creates a kind of psychological starvation for them. Because what the narcissist fears more than rejection, more than even being hated, is being ignored. Indifference is, to them, erasure. It renders them invisible, and for someone whose identity is constructed through external validation, invisibility is unbearable. Narcissists survive on reactions. Whether it's praise, anger, jealousy, admiration, or fear, any emotion directed at them confirms their existence. When you respond, even negatively, you reaffirm their place in your life and in your psyche. That energy becomes their fuel. But when you go silent, truly silent, you become a mirror that no longer reflects. You cut off the supply they once relied on to sustain their inflated image. And this silence becomes a wound they cannot heal, because it forces them to confront something they've always avoided: the fact that your life can go on without them. In this space of silence, they begin to unravel. At first, they may try to provoke you, subtly or directly. They might post things online, clearly meant to draw your attention, make cryptic remarks through mutual friends, or send half-hearted messages that seem innocuous but are designed to pull a response from you. These are not innocent gestures, they are pressure points. They are attempts to test the boundaries of your detachment. Because if they can make you react, they regain control. They prove to themselves that you're still orbiting their world, that they still matter to you, even if only in your anger or sadness. But when you remain still, when you offer no response, no engagement, no acknowledgement, they begin to feel the cold void of your absence. And that absence is deafening. It echoes back to them, not just the loss of your presence, but the loss of power. Your silence says more than words ever could. It says you see them clearly now. It says you're no longer playing the game. It says they cannot control your reality anymore. And that truth is intolerable to someone who needs to be at the center of every emotional equation. The agony grows the longer the silence continues. In that emptiness, they are left with their own thoughts, their own chaos. Without your reactions to distract them, they are forced to sit with the dissonance between the image they have of themselves and the truth they fear. And while they may appear composed on the outside, their obsession is often boiling just beneath the surface. They check your profiles. They watch your movements. They fantasize about situations that would draw you back in, even through conflict. Some will even create drama just to break the silence, believing that even a fight is better than being forgotten. But the power of your silence is not in cruelty, it is in clarity. You are not punishing them, you are protecting yourself. You are not playing a game, you are stepping out of one. The narcissist experiences this as abandonment, not because you owe them anything, but because your lack of response dismantles the illusion that they are still significant in your world. And this loss of significance becomes an obsession. They try harder, they get louder, even if only internally. But what they can't achieve through manipulation anymore is your attention, and that is what they crave most. Eventually, some narcissists may retreat, appearing to lose interest, but often it's only a surface withdrawal. Internally, they still replay the old dynamics, still monitor your movements, still wonder when or if you'll break the silence. For many, the obsession never truly ends. It only changes form. Because your silence took away not just their control, but their reflection. And in the absence of that reflection, they are forced to confront the very thing they've always feared, their own emptiness. When the narcissist mimics your growth, it is not out of a desire to evolve or to understand the journey you've taken. It is a calculated act of possession through imitation. To the narcissist, identity is not something discovered or nurtured from within. It is something adopted, often borrowed from others, especially those they once fed on emotionally. After you leave, after you rise from the pain and begin to rebuild yourself, they watch. And they don't just watch with curiosity, they watch with hunger. They see that you have changed, that you are healing, that you've stepped into a version of yourself that radiates peace, self-worth, and clarity. But instead of seeking that same transformation through inner work, they seek to become the very thing you've become. At first, it may seem coincidental. They may start using the same language you've embraced. Words about boundaries, energy, healing, or spirituality. They may begin quoting the same authors, adopting the same practices, or aligning themselves with movements or values that mirror your own. On the surface, it looks like growth. To others, it may even seem like they've matured. But underneath this surface is an entirely different motivation. They are not integrating these qualities into their being. They are wearing them like a costume. What they're truly trying to do is reclaim control by imitating the version of you they once tried to suppress. They watched you climb out of the pit they pushed you into, and now they want to wear the light that you earned. This is not admiration. This is psychological appropriation. They want the strength, the wisdom, the dignity you now embody. Not because they value those traits, but because they understand those traits make you powerful, and they want that power for themselves. In their eyes, your growth is not a triumph of the human spirit. It's a resource, something to harvest and replicate for their own image management. This mimicry is particularly insidious because it often fools those around them. They may present themselves as transformed, enlightened, or awakened. They may even take on the role of the healed one, spinning tales about how they've changed, learned, or evolved since the relationship ended. And to those who do not know their patterns, it can appear believable. But for those who've seen behind the mask, it's all too familiar. The core remains untouched. There is no humility in their supposed transformation, only performance. No accountability, only storytelling. The obsession is not about reconnecting with you in love. It is about reclaiming relevance in your story. If they can present themselves as your equal, as someone who has matched your growth or even surpassed it, they can re-enter your world on their terms. They seek to collapse the distance your healing has created. They want to blur the boundary between what they are and what you've become, hoping that others, and even you, might forget who they really are beneath the borrowed language and stolen light. This behavior reveals just how deeply their obsession runs. They are not content to let you go. They are not content to let you grow. They want to own your growth, to take credit for it, to mold it into a reflection that serves them. It is not enough for them to witness your transformation. They must be part of it, even if only as a distorted mirror. And in doing so, they violate something sacred, the hard-earned peace that you cultivated in the aftermath of their chaos. The truth is, real growth is quiet. It is humble. It does not need to announce itself, nor does it need to be paraded. The narcissist's mimicry is loud, performative, and always just out of sync with authenticity. It is a mask trying to pass for a face. But you will know the difference, not by what they say, but by what they avoid. They avoid depth. They avoid accountability. They avoid the shadow, because to face those things would require more than mimicry. It would require truth. And truth, to the narcissist, is the one costume they cannot wear. When you begin to see the narcissist's reflection in others, it can feel like déjà vu, wrapped in discomfort. You've cut contact. You've chosen healing. And yet somehow, pieces of them appear in places you didn't expect, through mutual acquaintances, social media whispers, or sudden strange coincidences. Friends start repeating phrases that sound eerily familiar. Strangers seem to carry fragments of your old dynamic. It is no accident. This is what happens when the narcissist can no longer reach you directly. Their obsession mutates, sending tendrils into the lives of those around you, hoping to tether themselves to your awareness again, by proxy. Narcissists often recruit others, knowingly or not, to serve as extensions of their will. These people, commonly called flying monkeys, may not realize they're being used. They might believe they're helping, or that they're bringing you a message out of concern. But what's really happening is manipulation at a distance. The narcissist cannot accept the finality of your silence. It terrifies them, so they create channels to stay connected, to remain relevant, even if it's through indirect surveillance or third-party drama. This is a deep form of obsession, one that demonstrates just how unwilling they are to let go of your psychological space. The narcissist might tell others things about you that are twisted, exaggerated, or completely false, not just to damage your reputation, but to shape how you're perceived, still attempting to control your story from afar. It is not enough for them to fade into the background. They must remain active in the environment around you. This obsessive reach is not about you as a person anymore. It's about maintaining presence, power, and the illusion of unfinished business. They don't want closure. They want a permanent opening, a small crack in the door they can keep one eye on. Their obsession becomes ghost-like. They haunt mutual spaces, monitor your progress, and provoke subtle responses without ever stepping forward. This is psychological residue. And while it may seem petty or even juvenile, it's rooted in their inability to accept your autonomy. They can't control your voice anymore, so they try to influence the voices near you. They seek to remind you that they're still watching, still talking, still injecting themselves into your orbit. What's most unsettling is how persistent this indirect obsession can be. It doesn't fade easily, especially if the narcissist feels exposed or wounded by your departure. Your decision to walk away represents a threat to the carefully curated identity they tried to maintain, and threats must be neutralized, if not by convincing you to return, then by turning others into their echo. They want to make you doubt your truth by surrounding you with noise. They hope that if enough people question your version of events, you'll begin to question it too. But here is the truth. When you start seeing their reflection in others, it's not a sign that you haven't moved on. It's a sign that they haven't. It is proof of their ongoing obsession, dressed in new disguises. These reflections are not organic. They are orchestrated, and recognizing this is vital because it helps you resist the pull back into the old pattern. Stay grounded in your experience. Trust what you know, even when others are unknowingly reciting scripts that were written by someone with an agenda. The narcissist thrives on confusion, on blurred lines, on emotional ambiguity. Don't give them the satisfaction. When you notice these reflections, let them confirm your growth. Let them remind you that your boundaries are still worth protecting and that your truth is still intact. Obsession does not always knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers through others. Sometimes it sits quietly, hoping you'll look back. But you don't have to. You've already seen the original. You don't need to study its copies. Each echo, each shadow, each indirect attempt is further evidence that they're still trying to be seen through you. Because without your attention, their reflection fades. When the narcissist begins to idealize someone new, it can feel like you never mattered to them at all. It seems sudden, almost mechanical, the way they shift their focus, pouring admiration and affection onto a new person with the same intensity they once gave you. But this is not love, and it is not healing. It is obsession, taking a different shape. The narcissist hasn't moved on. They've simply transferred their fixation. This is one of the most misleading parts of the narcissistic cycle, their ability to make it appear as though they've replaced you effortlessly. But the truth is, they haven't let go of you at all. They're still playing the same script, just with a different actor on stage. The new person is not a genuine object of affection. They are a tool, a means to an end. The narcissist's end is not connection, but restoration of control. You stepping away shattered the illusion that they are irreplaceable, admirable, or all-powerful. So in response, they attempt to recreate the dynamic, but this time with someone more compliant, less aware, or simply newer. It's not about depth or truth. It's about the appearance of success. If they can appear to have moved on quickly, if they can seem happy and fulfilled, then maybe they can convince both themselves and others that you were the problem, not them. But beneath this surface-level shift lies an important truth. Their obsession with you doesn't disappear. It simply mutates. They often project elements of you onto the new person, either by comparison or mimicry. They may even deliberately choose someone similar to you in appearance, interests, or personality. This is not coincidence. It's a psychological echo. They are not engaging with the new person as an individual. They are chasing a phantom, your ghost, your energy, your validation. And when the new person inevitably fails to deliver the same emotional supply, the narcissist will begin to devalue them as well. The cycle repeats. The new idealization phase is often exaggerated. They post about it constantly, they talk about it loudly, and they put it on display for all to see, especially you. This isn't just affection. It's a performance meant to elicit a reaction. They want you to see, they want you to feel, and if you do, in their mind, they've won. Your pain becomes proof that they still matter. Your silence, on the other hand, becomes unbearable to them, because without your reaction, their performance falls flat. They are still obsessed, not with the new person, but with the version of themselves they cannot reclaim in your absence. This is why, even in new relationships, they find subtle ways to reference you through backhanded comments, comparisons, or recycled stories. You become the standard they measure the new person against, often without even realizing it. And this internal obsession poisons the new bond from the beginning. The narcissist may try harder at first, love-bombing with even more intensity, as if trying to prove to themselves that they can recreate the illusion. But deep down, they know something is missing you. Not because of who you are exactly, but because of what you symbolize to them. Control, admiration, supply. You were a mirror that reflected back a self-image they could believe in. And now, without it, they are chasing shadows. The most painful truth is that they are not truly present in their new relationship. Their attention might be there, but their obsession remains with you. They are trying to recreate the emotional high they once felt, not realizing that it wasn't real to begin with. The new person is walking into a role already defined by your absence, and eventually they will find themselves confused, discarded, or diminished, just as you once were. This is not a story of love lost and found. It is a story of obsession disguised as connection. And the further you step away, the more clearly you'll see it. The narcissist hasn't replaced you. They are still chasing you, through others, through memories, through mirrors. But you are no longer there. You are no longer watching the play. And that, more than anything, is what keeps them trapped in their obsession.